I'm Angela Barnes. Coming up on today's programme, well, the People's Bank of China cuts the mortgage rate. The 5-year LPR is down 25 basis points to 3.9%, its largest cut since its introduction in 2019. And the world's largest miner, BHP, has posted its latest financials and is cautiously optimistic in its outlook, saying good morning and welcome to IG's early morning call on Tuesday, the 20th of February. I'm Angela Barnes. Coming up on today's programme, well, the People's Bank of China cuts the mortgage rate. The 5-year LPR is down 25 basis points to 3.9%, its largest cut since its introduction in 2019. And the world's largest miner, BHP, has posted its latest financials and is cautiously optimistic in its outlook, saying it expects a more balanced global economy in 2024 and will mark Q4 earnings today. Its online segment will be of particular interest as online sales growth is expected to slow. We'll also have full year earnings from Barclays as well this morning, so keep across our social media updates for the full rundown on that. But let's start by taking a look at volatility, because the VIX has declined since the 13th of February, that peak you can see there, and it's edged higher since Friday. It's currently up on the day 1.18%, suggesting increased investor uncertainty. Well, with 13 minutes to go until the European markets open, let's have a look at how things are looking pre-market, starting with the FTSE, currently set for a marginally lower open there, down 0.08%. And that is a similar picture for France's CAC 40, also set to open in the red, just down 0.02%. And for Germany's DAX, also following that trend, down 0.14% as well this morning pre-market. Well, on Monday, European markets were mixed as the fallout from last week's UK GDP data and the news that the UK fell into a recession at the end of last year continues to reverberate. Well, meanwhile, mining stocks dragged down the FTSE 100 as well yesterday. Anglo-American and Antofagasta were both down between 1.5 and 2%. While investors will be keeping across full year earnings from aerospace firm Rolls-Royce and as well as Barclays this morning as well. As I said, we'll have more on that. Keep across our social media updates for a rundown on what those results revealed. And meanwhile, Asia Pacific markets fell Tuesday as investors digested the Chinese central bank's decisions on key lending rates. It cut its 5-year loan prime rate, while the 1- and 5-year LPR remain unchanged. We'll have more on that in just a moment. Meanwhile, US stocks were closed yesterday as the country celebrated Washington's birthday. But this is how equity markets looked at close on Friday. Dow Jones Industrial Average lower, down 0.37%. The S&P 500 also in the red on Friday, down 0.48%. And the Nasdaq Composite 2 down 0.82%. And then let's have a look at the picture pre-market before Wall Street opens. Well, the US 500 currently down 0.28%, and the Nasdaq, the US Tech 100, also set for a lower open, currently down nearly 40%, and Wall Street Dow Jones also down 0.24% pre-market. Well, earnings season is beginning to wind down, but Nvidia, the last of the Magnificent Seven to report, releases earnings tomorrow and will be closely watched now that the company has overtaken Amazon in market value. Well, Walmart also reports quarterly results today, and we'll have more on that in a moment. And the Federal Reserve minutes will also be closely watched tomorrow, with the market not expecting a rate cut now in March. Well, let's move on to China, where the benchmark reference rate for mortgages has been cut in an effort to revive its property market. Well, the 5-year LPR rate, loan prime rate, was lowered by 25 basis points to 3.94%. 5%. For the market, this is a significant cut, proof that policymakers are serious in providing stimulus support for the economy. Note that this new mortgage reference rate comes into effect immediately, but existing mortgage holders will not benefit from any reduction in loan repayments until next year. The one-year LPR was left unchanged at 3.45%. Well, let's look at the US dollar and Chinese yuan. Well, the reaction has been quite muted from the end this morning. We look at the price chart creeping just slightly higher, but US minutes this week will be closely watched for dollar reaction as well. The dollar under pressure with market sentiment leaning towards the anticipation of a Fed rate cut at the upcoming March meeting. But the chair of the Fed has said it's unlikely to happen in March, so that's more likely now in May. Meanwhile, to rule out another hike in interest rates, the Reserve Bank of Australia needs more time to be confident inflation is on the decline. Well, minutes of its February meeting show the bank decided to hold steady at 4.35%, given progress on inflation and the labour market. Still, members noted that it would take some time before they could have sufficient confidence that inflation would return to target within a reasonable time frame. And given considerable uncertainty about the economic outlook, the board agreed it was appropriate not to rule out a further increase in the cash rate. So what does the market think? Well, it's more confident the tightening cycle is over, but only sees a modest easing of 36 basis points for 2024. A first cut is not expected before August or September. Well, in Canada, CPI, the Consumer Price Index, is forecast to rise by 3.2% in January year over year, after a 3.4% rise in December. Excluding food, energy and mortgage interest costs, core CPI growth is also expected to slow to 2.5% in January year over year, after 2.6% the previous month. Well, in earnings, BHP posted an underlying profit attributable to shareholders of $6.060 billion for the half year. That was unchanged from the previous year, but higher than the expectations of $6.42 billion. Revenue rose by 6%, supported by higher iron ore and copper prices and contributions from new projects. Well, BHP declared an interim dividend of 0.72 cents per share, compared with 0.90 cents per share a year earlier. In terms of outlook, BHP expects a more balanced global economy, as it believes the worst of the general inflationary wave is behind us. This should have a positive impact on the mining industry. Well, China, however, remains a concern for the company, which says it's not yet clear how effective stimulus policies have been in the country, which is its biggest customer. Well, Walmart has so far found a way of dealing with higher input costs and keeping prices competitive for its customers, despite the challenges of rising inflation. And this has translated into earnings beats in 3 out of the previous 4 quarters. But will the US retail giant do it again with its Q4 earnings? Well, Walmart is forecast to post earnings of $1.64 per share on revenue over $170 billion before the market opens. Well, this compares to EPS of $1.50 and revenue of $151.47 billion the same quarter a year ago. Analysts, however, predict an 11% increase in US e-commerce sales, which would be the slowest rate of growth in 2023. Well, there could also be news on the potential acquisition that Walmart is making of Vizio, the connected TV company, a reported $2 billion potential acquisition. But is it looking to be the next Amazon Prime? Well, some analysts think so, but there are other retailers that sell Vizio TVs like Costco, Best Buy and Target. So there's questions around this acquisition, and we may hear more about that this afternoon. Meanwhile, if we look at the Walmart price chart, well, shares are up 10% so far this year. That's about double the S&P 500 performance. Meanwhile, as well, we have Home Depot fourth quarter results also due before the market opens. Its top and bottom lines are likely to have declined year over year, The Street forecasts the home improvement retailer will post an 18% fall in earnings to $2.77 per share and a 4% decline in sales to $34.64 billion. Well, looking at the Home Depot price chart, the earnings report might help the stock move higher if these numbers are better than expectations. On the other hand, if they miss, the stock may move lower. In 2023, the share price gained about 12%. So far this year, its share price has gained about 6.5%. And lastly, let's have a very quick look at oil prices before we go. And we can see with Brent this morning up 0.19%, trading around $82 a barrel. US crude just marginally higher there as well, trading around $78 a barrel. Relatively steady this morning, remaining near their 3-week high. Well, that's all we've got time for this morning on IG's Early Morning Call. Thank you very much for watching, and do keep across our social media platforms for more updates and market insights.